and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of John, starting at chapter 20. John, chapter 20, verse 1. 1. On one of the Sabbaths, Mia Sabbaton, Miriam of Magdala came, when it was growing dark, to the tomb, and seeing the stone taken away from the tomb. 2. Then she runs and comes to Shimon, Kepha, Simon, Peter, and to the other disciple, whom Yeshua loved, and said to them, They have taken away the Master out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him. 3. Kepha therefore went forth, and that other disciple, and came to the tomb. 4. So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Kepha, and came first to the tomb. 5. And he, stooping down and looking in, saw the linen clothes laying, yet he did not go in. 6. Then Shimon, Kepha, Simon Peter, who had been following him, and went into the tomb, and saw the strips of linen clothes laying there. 7. And the grave cloth that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. 8. Then went in also that other disciple, which came first to the tomb, and he saw and believed. 9. For as yet they understood not the scrolls, that he must raise again from the dead. 10. Then the disciples returned back to their homes. 11. But Miriam stood outside the tomb weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the tomb. 12. And seeing 2 Malachim, angels, in white, sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Yeshua had lain. 13. And they said to her, Woman, why do you weep? She said to them, Because they have taken away my master, and I know not where they have laid him. 14. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back, and saw Yeshua standing there, and knew not that it was Yeshua. 15. Yeshua said to her, Woman, why do you weep? Whom do you seek? She, supposing him to be the warden, said to him, Master, if you have taken him from here, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away. 16. Yeshua said to her, Miriam. She turned around and said to him in Hebrew, Rabbi, which is to say, the teacher. 17. Yeshua said to her, Touch me not, for I have not yet ascended to the Av, but go to my brothers and say to them, I ascend to my Av, and your Av, and to my power, and your power. 18. Miriam of Magdala came and told the disciples that she had seen the Master, and that he had spoken these things to her. 19. Then the same day at evening, being Yom Rishon, first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Yehudim, Hebrew people of Judea, Yeshua appeared and stood in the middle, and said to them, Shalom, peace be to you. 20. And when he had said this, he showed to them his hands and his side. Then the disciples were glad when they saw the Master, Adon, Lord. 21. Then Yeshua said to them again, Shalom, peace be to you. As my Av has sent me, even so I send ye. 22. And when he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, Receive the Ruach HaKadosh, set apart spirit. 23. If you forgive anyone's sins, they are forgiven. And if you retain anyone's sins, they are retained. 24. But Thomas, one of the 12 called twins, was not with them when Yahshua came. 25. The other disciples therefore said to him, "We have seen the Master, Adon, Lord." But he said to them, "Except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe." 26. And after 8 days again his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yahushua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, "Shalom be to you." 27. Then he said to Thomas, "Reach here your finger, and behold my hands, and reach here your hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not beliefless, but believing." 28. And Thomas answered and said to him, "My Master and my power." 29. Yahshua said to him, "Thomas, because you have seen me, you have trusted. Blessed are they that have not seen me, and yet have believed." 30. And many other signs truly did Yahshua in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in the scrolls. 31. But these are written, that you might believe that Yahshua is the Messiah, the Son of Elohim, and that believing you might have life through his name. So that now brings us to the end of John chapter 20. So let's go back and have a look at some of the footnotes in John chapter 20. Okay, so the first footnote we have is in verse 1. On one of the Sabbaths, Mia Sabbaton. Okay, so let's have a look at this on one of the Sabbaths. So we have here, one of the Sabbaths is the reading of the text, and one of the weeks as the weekly Omer count for the Karg. The celebration of Shavuot is in the view. That was week number 1. So the writer has that in mind. It is a special Sabbath, and Yahshua rose before the Sabbath ended on Saturday. So we have a footnote here, says, see Matthew 28 and 1. So let's have a look at Matthew 28 and 1. So Matthew 28 and 1, and it reads, "In the evening of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first of the week, came Miriam of Magdala and the other Miriam to see the tomb." Okay, so we have a footnote here for "in the evening of the Sabbath." So let's have a look at this. So the Greek phrase, opsi, sabbaton, has the idea of late in the day, but not the end of the day. The Munster's Hebrew and the Aramaic have the reading "in the evening." It can also be translated in context as "on one of the Sabbaths," because the Omer count is in view, to bring us to the 7 Sabbaths, which equal 49 days, to arrive at the Karg, celebration of weeks, the ingathering, harvest, referred to as Pentecost or Shavuot. So in the evening is really 3 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Saturday, before the weekly Sabbath ends. Yahshua had already risen. He did not rise on Sunday early morning, but Saturday before the Sabbath ended. Okay, so Saturday before the Sabbath ended, he rose. So we have another footnote here. So in the evening of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first of the week. So let's have a look at this, first of the week. So we have here the Greek phrase Mia, Strong's Concordance G3391, Sabbaton, Strong's Concordance G4521. The idea is of a full week during the Omer count, or just the weekly Sabbath, is in view. From this, we know that Yahshua was killed on Wednesday, buried in the tomb on Wednesday evening, the 14th of Nisan. Then, taking the 3 full nights and 3 full days, we arrive at just before the Sabbath ends on Saturday. We need to understand that the Pharisees had switched the original Passover date to the 15th according to the Hebrew calendar and based on Deuteronomy 16 and 6. But at the place where Yahweh your power chooses to make his name abide, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at twilight, at the going down of the sun, at the time you came out of Egypt, while Yahshua was impaled on the 14th, the actual Torah specified date of the Passover. The Pharisees understood the Passover during the time of Yahshua to be at the going down of the sun, starting on the 15th of Abib. This switch must have happened no more than 300 years before Yahshua came on the scene, since in Ezra's time, the Passover was still celebrated on the 14th of Abib. So in fact, there were 2 Passovers that year, one celebrated on the 14th and one on the 15th of Abib. The Samaritans back then, and even still today, celebrate the Passover on the 14th of Abib, with the traditional Christian Good Friday to Easter Sunday scenario. The sign of Jonah is violated, thus making Yahshua a liar. It is believed in some circles that Yahshua's 3 days and 3 nights statement does not require a literal span of 72 hours. Their reasoning is that a part of a day can be reckoned as a whole day in the Hebrew world. With this in mind, since Yahshua died in the afternoon, example 3 p.m., then they would say that the remainder of Friday constituted the first day. The second day would be Saturday, and part of Sunday would thus be the third. However, there is a big flaw with this argument, that is, not taken into consideration. Only 2 nights, example Friday night and Saturday night, are accounted for in this explanation. Something is obviously wrong with this warped traditional view. Okay, so in that view, there's only 2 nights counted when there should be 3 nights counted. So I hope that gives you better understanding of when Yahshua rose and the days or nights, days and night that he basically before he rose. 3 days, 3 nights. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is a continuation. So, on one of the Sabbaths, Mia Sabbaton, Miriam of Magdala came when it was growing dark. So let's have a look at this, growing dark. So this is not our Sunday, but Saturday, before sunset, when it was growing dark. The Greek translators deliberately, to line up with pagan Sunday, omitted certain details, and the Western text translation of the Aramaic is not reliable. Either it's fitted to the Greek text, while the underlying text is pure Hebrew. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 16. Yahushua said to her, Miriam. She turned around and said to him in Hebrew, Ha, Rabbi, which is to say, the teacher. So let's have a look at this, Ha, Rabbi. This is the literal reading in the Hebrew, pronounced Ha, Rebbe, meaning the rabbi. That is what Mary said. The term Rabboni is incorrect, carrying of it in Greek, then into English. Okay, So I hope that gives you a bit more understanding. So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 19. Then the same day at evening, being Yom Rishon, first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled, for fear of the Yehudim. Okay, so let's have a look at this. For fear of the Yehudim. So we have here the anti-Semitic text of the Greek makes it sound like Jews were after Christians. But this is not how it was, as there was no such thing as a Christian follower of Jesus. The disciples were Jews, but they were in fear of the unbelieving Jews in Judea, especially the leadership. But in essence, they were together which concludes the Sabbath on Saturday night. Most Christians think this is a Sunday night, not knowing Hebrew calculation of days. Sunday night would be the second day of the week. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 23. If you forgive anyone's sins, they are forgiven. And if you retain anyone's sins, they are retained. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So this does not mean we can forgive sins. Only Yahweh forgives sins. But what this means is that when someone comes before us and repents publicly, we must at that point pronounce that their sins are forgiven to absolve them of all guilt. If someone shows a hard heart and does not repent, then we can pronounce that their sins are retained and not forgiven. So accepting forgiveness in Yahshua's name is calling out to Yahweh, in that he is the personification of his Father in heaven. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of John chapter 20. So I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Beaton saying thank you for watching, and shalom shalom. Baruch Shem, Kivod, Malkuto, Leolam Va'ed. Benevolent be the name of his esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen.